Hello everyone and welcome to Overexposed, a BWRM podcast where we delve into the ins and outs of running a real estate photography and videography business. My name is Dave Temple.
And my name is Jackie Kirk. Today's guest started his career as a graphic designer before one day deciding to leave it all and start a real estate photography business. He was actually our first member, and today he runs BWRM Greater Geelong, the second biggest business in the BWRM network, averaging on around 200 jobs a month. Welcome, Lucas Nieuwenhuys, and thank you for fitting us in.
Hello. How are you guys?
Cool. So, Lucas, we're delighted to have you here. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit. So you worked in graphic design. Can you tell me a little bit about what you were doing and when this was?
So I did graphic design for about 10 years, I think, and then schooling before that. So it's quite a long process. TAFE, then uni, then honours, and then probably a year in between trying to get my way from that, bridge that gap between schooling and then getting a job. Massive process, so many knockbacks, a lot of perseverance. I think I made a spreadsheet at one point trying to get across the line, like, okay, I'm going to systemize this. There's 200 agencies in Melbourne. Let's write them all in a spreadsheet. Let's start calling them all, send my follow to everybody, and then write down the response. And if they're a yes or a no, I kind of had like a red against no's, a green against yes, yellows against maybe, and then recall the maybes ones later on. Thinking back to that now, it's very much similar to what we do here in the real estate when we're trying to hunt for work in real estate photography. But eventually I got through. I did some really good freelance work that led to bigger projects and conversations with some really high-end graphic designers. And then I finally got work at Fabio Grado, which is a beautiful studio in Melbourne, and I did lots of beautiful work there. And then after I'd worked there, I kind of, I was going to say have a midlife crisis, had a quarter life crisis. Yeah, that's. I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I want to be? I really love the work, but I didn't like sitting on a computer all the time. You'd spend 10 hours, 8 hours a day just behind the computer, and that was just. It was really energy draining. Like you'd come home and you just feel like a zombie all the time. On one side, you're getting the reward of like, this is incredible work. But the other side, your body's kind of always like feeling sluggish and you're like, oh, does this really kind of where I want to be or what I want to do? So I decided, okay, career change, and I applied for construction management.
You've spent ages with your spreadsheet hunting down clients, and then you've decided, I don't want to do this. Like, that's a pretty massive realization to come to after all of that energy spent looking for work and training. So was that scary, or was it just so clear that that wasn't what you wanted to do?
It was scary. It was really scary knowing that I have to restudy, take a wage hit, start at the bottom again, start the full process over again. But I felt if I didn't make that decision, I was just going to be very unhappy for the rest of my life. So it was a hard decision, but it was still better than the alternative, I guess.
Yeah. And then so you decided construction management. Why?
I love the creative industry, but I feel like sometimes it's like having a haircut. Everyone has an opinion on what's right or wrong, the client, the person cutting the hair, the guy down the street. And you can't get a definitive, okay, this is the right path, we're moving forward. And that's kind of the end of the discussion. Whereas I felt construction had that kind of A to B, like A to Z, that you're getting a definitive answer and you're moving forward. There's just always so much back and forth with the creative work. And that was frustrating because it can be right for you but not right for everyone else. So I just wanted some logic, I think, rather than creativity. That was my path. I put my boots on and headed down the road. I completed the schooling, which was really great, one of the best courses I'd ever studied. There was just finance, legal, contracts, administration, etc., the physics, and got a job in a local builder. And about a year into that went belly up. So that was an interesting experience, knowing that construction should have been so sound and so safe, and yet it still wasn't. Like an industry like that still had the potential to turn your world upside down. So I went back to graphic design after that. I went back to working at Cotton On, and then I got work at Kathmandu back in Melbourne. And at that point is when I decided I was driving every day from Geelong to Melbourne. So that's an hour and a half each way. And then 5 times a week, you are spending a whole day just driving. And I said, okay, this isn't exactly where I want to be either. I know that I do like this creative work. I do like something logical, and I don't want to drive. So there must be something in between, which is when I found an ad in the newspaper about a real estate photography business, and I wanted some more information to do some research. And someone knew Guy LePage, and he gave me his phone number, and I gave him a call and asked, what's the business all about? Do you enjoy it? Do you like it? And he said, well, funny enough, I'm starting up BWRM. If that's something of interest to you, I would love to have a conversation and have a chat. And that's where it all started from there. We met Guy, got on like a house on fire. He showed me how everything worked. We went on shoots together, and I was just like, yeah, I love this. This is fantastic. I get to do some computer work. I get to have some creativity, but I also get to be on the road, and I get to have conversations with people. There's logic in it as well. You know what you've got to do from A to B. It just suited, it kind of like ticked all these boxes that I'd been looking for to kind of solve, or that I found interesting.
Well, you also magically managed to combine the creative work and the construction style, interests. Suddenly you've gone from graphic design and building to shooting buildings.
Yeah, it seemed like a logical step, and yet it worked really well. And also helps when I'm on site and I'll be talking about aspects of a house or a building or something like that, and you can have conversations that are a little bit more detailed or technical because of that information that I previously had. So, yeah, it worked in really well.
And so how long have you been running your real estate photography video business?
So I think it's 7 years now.
You had this creative background and you had all this creative skill. Did you have much photography experience?
No, I had to learn all of that. So that was calling Guy up every day and asking him about settings on the back of the camera, taking so many notes after watching his team work, and this going home and doing my own homework and YouTube and anything I can find on YouTube, just constantly Googling, trying to fill in all the blanks. So I got to a place where I felt like I could get on site and confidently take all the photos and do everything without any doubt, I guess.
You've come out of graphic design where you're sitting at a computer all day and feeling a little bit trapped. Suddenly you're thrown into your own business and you've got to grow it from nothing. Obviously it sounds like you had that mentality of, chasing people from when you first started in graphic design. Did you find it difficult to get started? Did you learn lessons from your creative, from your graphic design past? How did it go?
Yeah, so some things I already knew, I understood composition, so that part was never really an issue on how to get the end result, but it was working to how I take the photo, I guess, was more the hurdle at the start. I was very fortunate having Nick and Guy on either side of me. It was huge. I think I benefited from those two already having a brand established, so a lot of work came off conversations from them or referrals, and then having the two of them there, I could ask Guy and Nick questions if something was wrong or I needed to solve a problem or there was something I didn't know, which was a lot at the start. It was a phone call away the answer because they'd already been through it. So that was just incredible to have that resource there. I don't think I would have grown as fast or as quickly if I didn't have their help.
I think now the interesting thing is that it's our new members that are calling you. And I really love that about the network, and that there's this nurturing community that you've been there where you didn't know what the settings were, and now you've got people calling you every week chatting to you about your video settings, and you're running the video training at our conference and that sort of thing. And it just shows that there's this really organic way of everyone helping each other.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the best takeaway if anyone's listening that does want to start their own business and work with BWRM. It is so comforting to know there's people who have been through every situation just about. It's like this database or this library you can always keep asking questions for and get fantastic answers that are specific to your situation. It's truly an incredible tool to help everyone grow.
So how does your business look different if you take a step back? And I don't know if you do this very often, if you're just too busy to do so, but if you take a step back and you look at what your business is today, how does it compare to what you had 7 years ago?
Yeah, that's worlds apart. at the start, I was happy if I made enough money that I could pay for my food, rent, and car. I was just happy. I was just going to make enough to survive and own my own business. I think that was really important for me, owning my own business. Psychologically, I think I've been listening to a few of the other podcasts, and it's been big for everybody, that psychological barrier of going from the mindset of an employee to a business owner, and knowing that you can stand on your feet and you wake up in the morning and go, okay, my business is still working, hasn't failed, and it's still getting better. It's huge like that. I can't describe enough or give enough praise to that mindset change. Like it's huge. Like, it makes you want to get out of bed in the morning and really kind of work as hard as you possibly can every day, because it's exciting to have a functioning business. Like, it's cool. In terms of how did my business change? We started off with one client, which led to two, and then it just kept multiplying. I always had the ethos or perspective that every job that I do should lead to another job. We always know that agents are always watching everything that's happening all the time. They're always watching newspapers, the media, and they're seeing what the competition is doing all the time. So if you kind of know that you've got their attention all the time, every job you do, doesn't matter if it's a 6-pack, a 20-pack, $1 million house, a rundown shack, if you put the same level of care and do it as good as possible, that job you're doing right now is going to breed more work. It's going to come back to you tenfold. And if you that was my whole game plan. Just do every job as good as I possibly can, leave no stone unturned, and it's going to generate more work. And that's it. That's the magic. That's it in a nutshell, I think. And then you learn lots of things along the way, and it always gets better. But that's been my core process or focus.
So 200 jobs a month, what does that look like? Because I'm assuming you're not doing that by yourself.
No. So I guess that was a big challenge, letting go of doing everything and trusting people and bringing contractors into your business, training them, working with them. This is where Nick and I work shoulder to shoulder a lot of the time, because we share a lot of contractors. We share a full-time, part-time employee now as well. And growing that business. So that becomes a whole different mindset in itself, because you trust yourself to go to the job. You trust yourself to do an incredible job. Now you've got to take a step back and start trusting someone else and start training them and bringing them up to the level that you're at or you want to see them at. Because the agent has given you trust to do this job implicitly. They've given you your work. They've given you their work. Now they've got to trust the person you're putting on the job to do as good a job. So that's a big, big process, and it's a lot of work. But we've been through the teething of that now. When I say we, Nick and I have been through the teething of that now, and it's paying dividends. I mean, all the team's doing a fantastic job. I can't tell the difference a lot of the time between mine and their work now. And they just keep getting better. And I think it's taking that role of the coach now. You've got to just keep training, upgrading their skills to get them to where you are.
Just going back a step, Lucas, you obviously started in an area that had no work at all, with almost no experience at all. And you said that your first goal was to get to the stage where you could put food on the table. That's always a good starting point.
Always good, yeah.
What would you say? What would you say were the sort of the points where where did you hit that first marker where you thought, right, now I can survive, and then from there, we go onwards? How long did it take?
So when I first came across, I was supplementing my work with graphic design still at that point. I was taking 2 days a week graphic design, so I knew that all my bills were paid for, that I was going to be able to sustain my life. And then the other 3 days a week were just focused on the real estate photography, so hunting for new work, fitting in all the jobs, learning as much as I could. So I guess the first year was a bit of a balancing act between that. So it must have been the start of the second year, where I was able to let go of the graphic design fully and then just step straight into the the real estate photography because I had enough work on every day that I could let go of the other stuff and move fully into the BWRM stuff.
So I think that takes a huge amount of determination to have what is a secure position and be able to pay your bills and yet still go out on the days where you're not working to build up a business. You must have really wanted to change from one thing to the other.
Yeah, Kathmandu was paying incredible money. They were paying $500 a day, which was the day rate that they were paying. So 2 or 3 days with them was enough money to sustain your life and then something, be comfortable. So it wasn't a decision of money so much. It was a decision that I wanted to be a business owner. I needed to prove that to myself, I think, on some level, that I could run a business and make it stand on its own 2 feet, I guess. That was huge for me when we got past that. When I knew that the business was standing on its own 2 feet and that it was successful and it was going to keep happening every year, and it was only going to grow and get bigger, that feeling was incredible. That mindset change, that confidence that it gives you, go, oh, wow, I don't have to be an employee for the rest of my life. I can be a business owner. I keep saying that was one of the best feelings of my life, I think, changing that. And that was because of the tools that BWRM gave me, all the marketing, the strategy of how to speak to the agents, how to get our images processed. Like that foundation just built everything.
And how has your quality of life changed? Because I think I've watched people kind of do, and I've watched you go from the slog to get the clients where you're not very busy working, but you're busy working to get work. And then your business grows and then you get to a threshold where suddenly you're too busy and you're just never seeing your family or anything. Then you get the contractors. How has your quality of life kind of transformed along that way, and where are you at now?
Yeah, so I guess you've got to ride the wave a little bit there, that you're so appreciative of that big volume of work because at the end of the day, we're trying to run a successful business, so more work equals success. But then it also gets to a point where there's so much work, it's taking up your quality time with your family, your loved ones. So you've got to rein it all back. So I guess my business is at a point now where the last couple of years has been focused on maintaining the business and the quality and the output that we've been doing, but also making it a comfortable lifestyle for myself and family. So it's been challenging pulling it all back. It really has. But that's part of the process too, fine-tuning everything, refining everything, and getting into a place where you've got a really great work-life balance. We're there now. It's taken some time. Yeah.
Has it been harder to build the systems that allow you to pull back, or has it been harder to psychologically pull back? You in particular, you have a really keen eye for detail, like nothing gets past you, and you have a really high creative standard that you've set and that you've set for your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got this team of contractors that are trained to be amazing, but I would imagine you're probably ready to let go of some of that control sooner than you actually did. I know that was the case for me, so it might not be, correct me if I'm wrong, but the hardest part was to trust the other people, not to get them to the point where I could trust them, because I probably did that beforehand, but to actually let go of that control when it's your baby, and it's this thing that you're so proud of. Did you find that, or was it harder for you to just get people to the level that you wanted them to be?
I guess I took a similar strategy as Nick in terms of like, when you've got the contractors, you don't put them on the big jobs to start with. You start them off on the basic jobs, the 6 shots, start them off on floor plans, and it's always a tiered strategy of working them all the way up to the top until they're ready to handle the more important jobs. It's a huge deal letting go, like going, okay, well, I'm just going to sit back. I'm not going to rock up to site and check on them, or I'm not going to test them with phone calls to make sure they turn up for the job and everything went well, and just to really switch off and just go, okay, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust that they want to do a good job, and letting them upload the work in the next morning, getting it and checking, and everything's normally fantastic. And
you're a perfectionist, right? You want to do a good job for everybody. And so it's when you're doing it yourself, you're doing the best work you can. When someone else is doing it, until you see proof, you're always not sure. So that's good customer service from my point of view.
Yeah.
Did you have a PA before you had a contractor, or which was first?
PA was first. That was world changing when that happened. I can remember. I think Guy had gone overseas at that point, or he was on a holiday, so I was looking after my business and Guy's business, and it was the first time a PA had come on, and she was looking after Guy's business, handling a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I was absolutely right off my feet. Like, I just couldn't handle any more work at that point. And having a PA chatting to her attention to detail and bubbliness and all those good things, I was just like, I need that for my business. Made the call. I think within a week she was doing the same thing for me. And just, I got all this time back, and all this stress just got washed away too, because a big part of my business was answering the phone and making sure the agents were okay. So if that was handled by someone else, that was the best thing since sliced bread. I can't say enough good things about having the PAs work with us.
Psychologically, that's probably the first step in letting go, right? If you'd have had a contractor first, that may have been a more difficult step. But because you've seen the benefit of getting rid of that, that difficult, because the more stressed you get, the more stressed you are when you answer the phone, and that comes through to your customers, and it just goes round in a circle. So that was probably a good way of doing it.
Well, I guess the other thing is also, when you're such a creative person, it's those little creative details that you're worried that if you're going to let go of them, the creative level of your work is going to decrease. But what I've actually seen from you is, by now having more time to yourself, you've actually been innovating and working with our video teams and working with us and innovating new styles of video and new styles of photography. And that's been hugely valuable, not just to you, but to our entire network. I regularly order Lucas-style video edits, and I think moving forward, it's going to be really fun working with you, doing that creative innovation. From what I've seen, and we found that also when we set up the video editing house, people think that if you systemize things, you're going to lose a creative element to them. But actually, by systemizing the basic things, you get all that time up to add that special magic. You're not just making kind of things that will pass, you're making things that will surpass. And that's been really valuable to gain from working with you.
Yeah, it's the video stuff's been really exciting. Nick and I had a conversation probably a year or two ago about this, so we've been working on this for a while. We've just seen what our competitors are doing in Melbourne and Sydney and so forth, and I think we worked out that we needed to take a different approach to our video. I think previously we'd done, let's say, like a tour style video where you kind of just walk from each space, and it's good, it does the job, it shows each room beautifully, but it's not particularly interesting all the time. So what we were seeing from Melbourne and Sydney, where they had some more developed video work, was that storytelling was really important. And I think we did do it on some levels, but not to where it'd been fully pushed, we were seeing in other organizations. So we said, right, okay, we've got to change things, and we just devoted everything to making the whole process better, or innovating what we were doing. So that meant using the gimbal different, focusing on the human side. I think some of the videos will have people's feet walking through it, or the dog, or having things that tell a story and that are just a bit more human, I guess, rather than just walking from A to B, from the front of the house to the back of the house. And I'm still constantly doing it. And that's just like, it's trawling through lots and lots of videos, seeing what's out there and constantly going, okay, well, that really works well. I'm going to integrate that into our video. And so once we'd kind of worked out what our formula was, that was then talking to the amazing Max and his editing team and having some conversation with him. And together we worked out how this new editing process was going to work. And there was a couple of months there of like workshopping, going back and forth. And then we got it to a really good place now. And so it's a really creative product. But as you were saying, Jack, it's systemized too in a manner. And having Max there means that we can get through so many more of those, like if you tried to do it all yourself.
So for our listeners, Max is he runs our video editing house offshore. He's part of the BWRM video editing house. That's really interesting when you talk about systemizing creativity, because it's something Dave and I chat about quite a lot. There's often this belief that creativity is this inherent thing and you can't replicate it, you can't break it down. But I think you look at what the benefit of the creativity is. And in your case, it was really emotive images and videos. And you can look at it and address it. And you can take someone who's got like Dave's analytical mind and someone like you who's got this eye for what just feels right and apply an analysis to it and say, right, so these are the things we need to do. And then it means that we are replicating videos and turning them around really quickly. But they feel creative and each video is still unique. And you're managing then by breaking down this creative process to train your contractors to do it to the level you want. And to then have this product feel unique and special every single time. I think that's a really difficult thing to achieve.
Well, I think it's really interesting that if you look at it, I was in a very logical job and thought I needed a bit more creativity. And you were in a very creative job and thought you needed a bit more logic. And so it just goes... You can do whatever if you put your mind to it. It's actually determination and finding systems and finding those support structures that gets you to where you need to be. If you think you're a creative and you couldn't possibly run a business, you just need you need the determination and you need to find the structures to support you.
I agree. And
if you think you're not necessarily naturally creative, I just think you can learn it.
Yeah.
If you were talking to anyone, if you had any advice for someone who's decided to do this and that they're going to leave their job and start this business, what advice would you give someone? What do you wish you'd known?
I think you can make great money either way, right? You can be an incredible employee and make money and it's really safe, or you can be a business owner and make great money. So I guess it's more about, for me, it's a psychological place. Do you want to be an employee? Like, can you handle going into someone else's workspace and sort of saying, yes, sir, I can do that for you as fast as I possibly can, and kind of getting that all happening? Or do you want to kind of take control of what you do every day? And I really think it's about the mindset more than it is about the finance side of things, because you can be successful in both. So what's important for you, I guess, is the answer there.
So would you ever go back to doing a full-time job?
No, I don't think I could. I really couldn't.
I bet if you asked everybody in our network, you get the same answer.
And there was at a stage where I had done freelance graphic design, and then I went back and worked for a design company for a year or so. And just all of a sudden, not being able to invoice, not having input on how the job went out, not being able to speak to the client, like all these barriers are between you and what you used to do, and all these like little things that of control are just taken away from you. It was so frustrating. I just couldn't stand it. Things weren't done the way I'd want them done, and you have no control over that. So, like, can you live with that or not?
It's probably what's made your business do well as well, is that your clients are having that experience now too. The people that you're working with in this industry, they know that you get it. They know that you're invested. They know that you're looking at the whole process from start to finish, and you have this deeper understanding. And even when it's not you doing the shoot, you're overseeing it. And I think that's a huge strength then when you go in and try to find new work, for them to know that they're dealing with a business owner and not an employee is massive. And
that's huge, right? That mindset of owning your own business when you're working for someone else, because you know how much each job matters to the client. If you don't do a good job, it reflects badly on you and them. And that just puts this whole level, that just raises the bar a whole nother level, because you want yourself and them to look fantastic all the time. So you're always pushing yourself to do good work.
What would you say the most important thing to do is once you start to get, if it's me, right, and I've never done this and I'm looking at you, you're doing all this work, you're doing really well, you have a huge successful business, and I want to be like you. What's the number one thing you would say to someone that says, geez, I'd love to build something that this guy's built?
I think that anyone can do this business. I think that anyone can run a business. It's just about how long you can stay in the fight. So I had the advantage at the start I had a little bit of work with the graphic design stuff to sustain me, and then the work just kind of built over time. You've just got to give it enough time. I think most people fail businesses because they kind of just give up too soon. I truly think it's just about being able to stay in there long enough to get the result. And it might be 6 months, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years. I don't know how long, but I eventually think if you keep chipping away at something, you're definitely going to be able to succeed.
And if you look at BWRM from when you joined it as member 0 to now, does it look very different, or has it kind of been the same sort of thing?
Yeah, it looks drastically different. I didn't ever think my business would grow as large as what it was. I didn't ever think that I'd have contractors or a PA or anything of that. I was just purely content on starting my own business. I thought it'd just be a one-man team, and I was kind of happy with that too. I'm more happy with where it is now because it's grown and there's challenges every day and always solving problems, and it's always getting better and more interesting. But it's drastically changed from 5-6 years ago. Yeah.
Well, Lucas, it's been fascinating hearing your story of going from, working for someone else to having other people work for you to really burning the midnight oil, making sure that everything's perfect, to letting go of that control without losing the creativity. I'm told you're about to head off on a big holiday to Europe as well. So I think that kind of shows what you've managed to build here, that you're able to actually leave your business, go on holiday and feel safe doing so. I think that's wonderful. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, and I hope you have a wonderful time overseas.
I will do. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Lucas.